So we're on. This week, we have with us Eddie from Wisla. Wisla is a company that we've worked with for a long time. Wisla Narrow Fabrics over in Manchester. Basically, when we started on this journey and we started on this path, I turned up cap in hand to this gentleman's facility and was like, mate, listen, we're desperately trying to make some watch straps here that are a little more custom than stuff we can just buy off the shelf or webbing that we can get from eBay, which is probably what we were doing up until that point. And very graciously and very generously, Eddie was willing to take us on as a client and to start working with us, even though there wasn't an awful lot of business at the Senders, where he was gracious enough to give us the opportunity to start developing our own line of products and goods. So without further ado, Eddie, welcome, mate. How you doing?
Fine. Lovely to be back in Liverpool.
That's it, mate. You've been here before, haven't you?
Oh, yes. 1976 to 79.
Yeah.
University of Liverpool.
Wow.
Can remember the Students' Union bar better than anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, great place.
Yeah.
3 years of formative years.
Yes.
Many fond memories.
I can imagine.
Yeah, great. Love to be back. Yeah.
I can imagine. Well, the uni is just up at the top of the street here, mate. So I imagine this was probably your old stomping ground.
Oh yeah, coming down Mount Pleasant.
Yeah. Heading into town for the bars and
fabulous.
Obviously the bookshops and stuff like that.
Yeah, indeed.
Crawling back up.
Yeah, great times.
Mate,
great times.
Well, thanks for heading over, mate. It's great to have you with us. It's great to be able to share this story, really, in a way that you've been a massive help for ZA, mate, and allowed us really to flourish and start developing our own stuff. So from your point of view, mate, in fact, before we get there, something I like to do with all the guests, right, is go back to the very beginning. So I think you're born and bred in Manchester, mate. Is that?
Yeah, just on the outskirts of Manchester, a small town called Ashton-under-Lyne.
Okay.
Back in 1958.
Wow.
Yeah, giving my age away there.
Yeah. Looking well for it though, mate.
Oh, flatterer. yeah, flatterer.
You pay me later.
Yeah, will do. But yeah, sort of educated in that part of the world. Came to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Did a degree here.
Yeah.
And then went straight into work in its broadest sense, textile machinery.
Of course, yeah.
So textiles has been not just with me sort of from the early 80s or whatever.
Yeah.
The fact that you're living in the Northwest with all the old mills and all the heritage that there is there, sort of lent me into sort of that area. Textile machinery, and then into the manufacture of spindle tapes, which was a forerunner to Narrow Fabrics, basically.
Yeah.
At a company sort of fairly local to Manchester.
Yeah.
And then went working for a company called William Kenyon, who were basically one of the leaders in narrow fabric development in the UK.
Yeah.
For best part of 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was one hell of a journey. Very productive, interesting, and we saw the development and the evolution of narrow fabrics, and the yarns and fibres that go into them, and what you can actually do with it, and how technically sophisticated sort of webbings can become.
Yeah. So what were you doing in that business? What was your role?
I was involved in basic. It initially started off in sales administration, but then developed through into sort of developing sales, the sales and the marketing, and got to board level without being egotistical. It was a medium-sized family-run business.
Yeah.
Very pleased with that. Worked hard for them. They appreciated me. I appreciated what they did for me.
Yeah.
But we developed the product range in over a period of about 10 or 15 years from a very simple, limited range to something a lot more sophisticated. By the time in 2004 they decided to close that side of the business and focus on other parts of the business. And in 2004, Ingrid, my wife, and I, we got a capital package together with support of some asset-based finance and the banks, and set up business. We bought perhaps about a third of the equipment that Kenyans had. They were very supportive to us during the transition, which was recognition of what we'd done for them in terms of the 20 years that I'd worked for them, and set up Wisla Narrow Fabrics. And the question I'm asking, what does Wisla mean? Well, explain that on our website that my parents were from Poland, came over after the Second World War. My father was in the armed forces. My mother spent the war years in Germany.
Yeah.
They came over here, but both their families were from small villages on the banks of what we know as the Vistula River.
Yes.
In Polish, it's the Wisła, Wisl, with a little line through the L.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought, just as a sign of respect to my heritage, I wanted narrow fabrics in there so people knew what we were about. And I thought, I put in a word there, Wisła, which was, as I say, a sign of respect to them, but also it was a link. It was a link to my past, and it would also raise questions. Where do you get the name?
Of course.
Just, something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Something a little bit different, which worked for us.
Wow.
So this is our 20th year.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's flown.
Yeah.
And I think I've known you for 5 years or so,
probably,
something along
around
those lines.
Yeah.
I remember when you, as you say, you came to us cap in hand. Yeah. I was saying to you on the journey in today that you get people that come to you and you think, I don't quite like that idea. I don't know whether it's going to take off or not. But sometimes you've got to go with your gut.
Yes.
And you're one of a few that we've done that with from the basic foundations of having an idea and a hobby, as it was in your case. And providing that support, not going crazy with minimum order quantities or anything like that, but understanding the concept of what you wanted to do was critical for us.
Yeah.
And 5 years down the line, touch wood, the gut feeling was right, because we've seen how you guys have developed and penetrated that market, as I say, from a hobby to something that is very, very professional, but very personal.
Of course, yeah. I mean, like we've done so much in that time frame that we couldn't have done without you guys. Do you know what I mean? Supporting us and backing us and almost pushing the boundaries with us on certain things as well. Because we haven't really come with the most basic of ideas. In some instances, we've turned up with some crazy ideas. And is this possible? Can we do this? Or what's available in in this particular range of color or fabric or whatever. But I think over that time, we've got to a position now where we've kind of got our own set weave pattern, our weft, our warp, do you know what I mean? How many yarn, the yarn count, everything's. I always explain it to people is if you pick up any of our pieces in a dark room and you can't see anything, they should all kind of feel the same. Based on the weave pattern. It gives us our own like signature style, as it were. And we've developed that with you guys. You know what I mean, over the last 5 years. And it's grown and grown and grown. And mate, I love it. I get all excited about it and different things.
I mean, you've facilitated certain things with others as well, because when you first came to us and you wanted a particular weave pattern, we had a few attempts at what you wanted in terms of thickness, the width, how it felt, how it looked, the luster or otherwise. And it was a solid colour.
Yes.
You know, whether it was a NATO green or a tan or whatever it was. It was a solid colour. And we were sort of, we were in a prime position to do that for you, because we weave our webbings primarily from natural yarn, so natural coloured polyester. And then we've got a thermosol dyeing plant on site. And we dye it a particular colour. And then, of course, you decided to become a little bit more sophisticated, didn't you?
A little bit more flamboyant. Flamboyant.
Can you put a few, of these sort of little dashes in, or lines, or we'd like a blue with a yellow and what have you. And that basically necessitated us making an investment. And it was an investment in dyed yarns.
Of course.
Because the only way you get multicoloured webbings is to get multicoloured yarns. So, we made a decision that supported you. More so than perhaps even you've realised. Because we didn't publicise it. We just decided, listen, we'll make the investment. We know what Darren's like. He won't just want one or two different colours. He'll want a rainbow.
Of course.
And so we invested a lot in various shades of yarns that we still have on the site, because we know that you'll see an idea. You'll see something in the street or something that goes on in your head, and you think, I like that colour combination. Yes. Can we do this with this? Yeah. And we're now in a position where we're not just dyeing solid colours, we're providing you with that same construction of webbing, but manufactured in whatever combination of colours you need. And that will continue, because we see the developments that you've brought to us through your presence in the market and your developing presence in the market. And we see that continuing. Absolutely.
Mate, it's, as I say, it's epic. It's epic to be doing stuff together, and epic that not only you can help us, but in some small way, obviously we can push boundaries and help you guys as well. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we do together is publicly available, but there are weird and wonderfuls that we've done, mate, for some customers that stay hidden. But that helps a lot. That helps a lot with not only getting both of us out there and amongst it, you know, with these certain types of these certain crowds, but it allows us to kind of push boundaries on what we're trying to achieve. So for you, mate, I mean, working with us over the last 5 years has been, for us, it's amazing. For you, I imagine we've gone from being like 0.1% of your business to a little bit more each year, and that growing. So what's the core business for Wisla? What do you guys usually do? What's your bread and butter? Or what was it before we turned up?
Right. Before you turned up, basically when we set up the business, it was the generic sense of safety. Every webbing we produce has some form of safety element to it. So whether it be strength, whether it be the type of finish you apply to it, so an oil and water repellent finish or an anti-wick finish, colours for European norms for sling webbing, so lifting, safety in lifting, safety in lashing, safety for personal protection equipment, that kind of thing. And yes, you are still, you've grown significantly, and it's business that's valued to us. We've been on your journey basically from day one, and we want to stay with that, irrespective of what value you bring. You know, in pounds, shillings, and pence. Pounds,
Sure, you're edging again now, aren't you? We're doing it again.
You know, irrespective of that, because we feel we're committed to it, we feel part of it, and we're proud of it. You know, we're very proud of it, and so we've developed that, and we're exclusively, I mean exclusively, suppliers of webbings for watch straps only to ZA.
Thank you.
And that's on a nod and a wink and on a handshake. There's nothing formal, and it's because that's the way we are. We're committed to what you decided to do with us and what we wanted to support you with. So where we are now in terms of general product profile, it's still safety, defense, military, PPE, height safety. Everything has some form of aspect of safety to it. Gets a little bit more technical with regards to things like elongation curves in some engineered applications, and getting a lot more sophisticated now with the type of yarns that are now available. You're getting some very, very clever, almost intelligent yarns available that provide inherently certain properties. There are fibres out there that are spun into yarns now that are as strong as steel, if not stronger.
Wow.
So if you want the malleability of a textile webbing, but you want the strength of a steel rod combined, there's a yarn out there that can be woven to give you the strength of steel and various other high-strength metals out of fibres that lend themselves to be woven quite well. Very simple warp, binder, weft configurations. And that's the exciting part of the journey that we're on now. So weaving as a concept hasn't changed much over the last 20, 30 years. Narrow fabric weaving, that is. So that's not changed much. You can spend money on sort of new looms that run a little bit faster, but in terms of what they actually do, it's much as it was 20 years ago. where you differentiate yourselves now is by the yarns that you weave the product from, and the finishes, the dyes, the chemicals, which are becoming far more environmentally friendly these days as well, I'm pleased to say. So it's at the front end and at the back end. So you can get some very sophisticated yarns from predominantly driven by the guys out in the Far East.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Out in the Far East, Japan in particular.
Yeah.
Some of these are being driven by technology from the Far East, Japan in particular. And nothing's off the table now. Nothing's off the table in terms of how you want a malleable textile, narrow fabric. And I'm sure the wide fabric weavers are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Although having said all that, in terms of the technological sort of advancements, there's now a growing requirement to go back to what I call basic staples as well. People looking at organic cottons.
Yes.
Talking, we're getting inquiries for hemp, for jute, for sisal, which is stuff that Kenyans were doing sort of like 30 years ago.
Of course.
And it's that's a niche.
Yeah.
But we're seeing a little bit more of it now than we ever have done, for obvious reasons in terms of
sustainability and stuff.
Absolutely.
I've got a love affair with jute and hemp, and I'm from a naval family, as you know. But like, I used to sit there for hours with my late father, and he'd teach me how to splice and do knots and rope work with hemp and jute, and it's a type of thing. It's a fabric, a fibre, whatever it is. I'm just in love with it. So if you ever get in a position, mate, where we can make some jute, we'll probably go with jute rather than hemp, for obvious reasons. And the straps, mate. I'm all ears on that. Yeah. But it's fascinating, mate, how the game changes. But I suppose there's elements of it that just come full circle as well, like the jute and the hemp and stuff like that. Like, if someone had told you 10 years ago you'd be getting inquiries for these fibres, you probably wouldn't have believed them at the time.
No, pinch me, I'm dreaming. Turning the clock back. But so there's that sort of reversion back to, as I say, a niche market for those type of products, staple, natural products. And yet there's this growing technical, engineered yarns that can provide businesses with new markets and developing new markets worldwide. Because they are very, very sophisticated.
So your core business is, or has been for a long time, obviously narrow fabrics. That's what you do. As time is progressing and the industry's changing, that's becoming far more technical. I've visited the mill numerous times over the years, mate, and one of the things that I've noticed was the drogues that you guys put together. I think for refueling aircraft in flight. Is that something you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't actually put the material together, but we produce a very technically adept 3 millimeter. It's almost like a bootlace. Yeah, it's a slotted webbing, so it's a 3 millimeter wide. Webbing manufactured out of Dyneema. That has a slot intermittently woven into the product. That a particular fabricator will get their hands on, and they'll manufacture refueling drogues for aircraft that need refueling mid-air. So the air tankers will go up. You've probably seen this on the TV numerous times, if not experienced it. And you'll see this mesh of a drogue, basically, and it's 3 millimeter webbing that's woven almost like a spider's web.
Of course,
that holds this, and it's all to do with airflow and everything else.
It's like a shuttlecock. That's the easiest way to describe it. That's getting towed behind an aircraft.
Absolutely, and obviously the airflow. There's the amount of research that went into ending up with a 3 millimeter rather than a 4 or a 5 millimeter webbing is took years. But it's now effectively the industry standard. So these sort of things happen once you get these new yarns and fibres available.
Yeah, of course.
And you've also got sort of UV stability. You've also got water retention or water repellencies that are just naturally inherent in some of these fibres. Whereas previously you'd have to apply a chemical post-finishing,
of course,
to give you that sort of finish. So and something that doesn't stretch, something that floats on water. Density less than 1, and it's there's so many crazy things going on that I don't tell you half of them because you'd get giddy about them. You think, well, can we do this for a strap or something? You know. But there's certain things like, for example, like oil and water repellency.
Yeah.
I mean, polyester, which is our primary fibre still, is generally hydrophobic. It doesn't. It generally repels water. It's not waterproof, but you can apply something sort of to make it that way. So there's little add-ons that we can discuss as time goes on that might just help you differentiate even more than you do already.
Well, let's keep those ideas to ourselves for now, because there's a number of you watching. I know what you're doing. But yeah, mate. I mean, people have asked us for a long time, like, why are you working in polyester? Why aren't you doing stuff in nylon like the rest of the industry kind of is? When we came into this, it made far more sense, mate, for us to look at polyester. Number one is for its hydrophobic properties naturally that it has, but also the abrasion resistance that come with that. It's in many instances superior to nylon. In many instances, but I think a lot of people, when you say polyester, they think of maybe like an IKEA carrier bag handle. Do you know what I mean? There's polyester and there's polyester.
Cheap and commodity.
Kind of thing. There's polyester. There's polyester. So that's the route we went down with it, and obviously, mate, the volume of technicalities in and around the weaving, the webbing, the fibers, etc. It's endless and colossal. So it's I love it, mate. I love the fact that we use that main proprietary material with you guys as polyester, and we've developed the line around that. But 100%. If there's things that we could make a little more weird and wonderful.
But polyester works for that particular application.
That's perfect for it.
There are increasingly more antimicrobial finishes that you can put on without giving too many details away. And again, there's certain aspects of your markets that might sort of lead us into producing something like that for you. So anything that you come across that you might think, oh no, it's out there, it's out with the Milky Way, just run it by us, because there might be something around that'll do the job for you. But again, polyester lends itself to a fairly efficient dyeing process. If you're dyeing a solid colour and you're not making it out of a pre-dyed yarn.
Yes.
So that lends itself to an efficient process. One of the areas we are developing, and rightly so, is this issue of sustainability. So we're doing a lot of recycling of yarns. Any plastic materials that we use, we make sure it's been recycled initially and gets recycled post-production. All our chemical containers get reissued back into the supply chain. So our landfill use is reduced dramatically because we've actually found end users, and in some instances we offer a facility dependent on volumes where customers can supply their own customers used webbings, rejected webbings for whatever reason, but used webbings back to us, because we've got a customer who will actually take redundant used webbings from us and reapply them. It doesn't go out to China or anywhere else, or the Indian subcontinent, as you hear on the news very often about these tips that are going out into Africa or whatever. There's a guy actually in this country, and there's more than one, that actually use that as a raw material for products that they're actually manufacturing themselves. So we being driven by sustainability these days as well, and we're very conscious of that, and we'll continue to be, and that'll develop. One of the targets we've got is to minimise what we put into landfill, because we've done a massive reduction in that, and at the margins, that's when it's most critical.
Of course,
but anybody that has webbing that needs to be recycled, that's a customer of ours, is always given the facility to return that to us, because we have somebody else that might be to use that. So that helps.
100%.
So sustainability, technical development for us is critical, and that's going to help you and other clients. But
absolutely, I need to come up more, but like every time I come up, I see something, and I'm like, oh, I need to do this.
Yeah,
we should be doing this.
It's dangerous when you come.
I get excited. I get so excited. I get giddy, as you said earlier, mate. Giddy.
Yeah.
So, mate, for you, I mean, being in this space now for, I'm not gonna start adding numbers together, but for a considerable amount of time. And you know, being essentially, mate, the captain of your own ship for the last 20 years. How has that journey been for you? I mean, coming into this, obviously you had the support and the network, you know, from your previous employer, but essentially you've gone out into it and just created this business it's just phenomenal. I love coming to the site, mate. I absolutely love it. It's epic to visit, 'cause there's so many different things going on. Have you grown into that, or is that the way it's been for a long time?
Yeah, in 2004, there was more than just an embryo of a business, because it was something that was fairly well established through the William Kenyon group of companies. Of
course.
But when Ingrid and I decided to sit down and get this capital package together, we basically made the decision on the basis that in 10 years' time, if we're producing the same range of webbings that we're doing now, let's not start. We've got to develop. We've got to develop, not just in terms of growth of established products, but we've got to develop new products that potential new clients will have an interest in.
Of course.
So it's been an up and down. The first 5-6 years were critical for us. We were doing a lot in the early days in terms of geotextiles. We were doing, as a second, third tier supplier to the MOD. We were doing a fair amount of money while we still had boots on the ground in places like Afghanistan and Iran. And then when the troops pulled out, that budget just dropped. So we went through some tough times in the first 5 or 6 years. But during that time, we were constantly looking at new fibres, new products, new markets, new developments, doing a lot of, I don't think there's another narrow fabric company in the UK that does as much sampling and developing as we do. Now that sometimes can be a pain in the butt.
Of course.
You know, because, here's another sample we've got to do. And sometimes it means you've got to change the whole structure of the loom that you're putting it into, etc. But again, it's that gut feeling sometimes that actually this is worth trying, because the potential there, it may not be, it may not be millions of meters, but I quite like the kudos of doing something, bringing something to market, and it makes you feel good. I'm not talking about preening. I'm just saying, actually, we've helped this company to develop this product. We've had to take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. In order to make another 2 steps forward. And that's through the development, through the trialing and the sampling.
Of course.
And we constantly, our loom technicians are sometimes saying to us, not another bloody sample.
Tell Darren to bugger off.
No, not another one. I said, it'll be worth it in the long term, lads. It'll be worth it.
Dave, I'm sorry, mate.
So there's that thing has developed. So if you looked at where we were, let's not say 20 years ago, but 10 years ago, we weren't doing the same mix of products that we were at the outset. Nor are we doing now from where we were 10 years ago. And businesses like yours have helped that along. Because if somebody said to me 10 years ago, you'll be making webbing for watch straps. No, forget it. The volume's not there. It's not worth it. It's just, it's not feasible. It's not feasible economically. From a production perspective, because every time you change a webbing in a loom, you've got to change the mechanics of the loom. The cam changes. The yells need to change. The draft pattern needs to change, and 500 meters may take a day, depending on what the webbing is. May take a day to weave. It may take 3 days to weave. So we're in a position where, in 10 years' time, if I'm still with the business, and health permitting, I'd be expecting the product shift to have continued, to be different from where we are now. Not we're not talking 180 degree.
I get it, but the world is changing.
The world's changing, and what's marginal today may become par for the course tomorrow.
Of course,
And if you looked at the sort of the product range that we do in terms of proportionality of contribution to what the business is doing in terms of its profile out there in the marketplace. We've moved away from what you'd say the low hanging fruit.
Of course,
from the commodity stuff to some of the more
technical,
exciting. Even in polyester. I mean, there's aspects of polyester that lend themselves to being. It's a commodity yarn, but it lends itself to being. It can be manipulated in a lot of ways.
Of course,
you can alter the extension curve of polyester through the application of heat and tension on the finishing machine during dyeing to mimic that of nylon, if need be. So if somebody comes to us for, say, nylon and say, I'd like a nylon, why would you like nylon? Well, I like its fairly high extensibility. Well, actually, you can virtually get the same thing out of polyester now with all the added benefits of polyester by affecting its extension curve during the finishing process. So you can almost mimic one with the other. So we've come on leaps and bounds. The last 5 years have been, not just because of yourselves, but the last 5 years in terms of chronology have been very exciting for us, because we've developed a brand profile now through social media. We've got a big LinkedIn following. 2,500 last week we hit.
Amazing.
And when we consider we started that about 3 years ago, we're really proud of that.
Mate, 100%.
And people are coming through us, through Instagram and LinkedIn in particular. They're seeing what we do. They're probably sick of I'm posting different coloured webbings and little videos, and I always post a little bit of music. So, adding the music to it, people say, I love, because we like to know what sort of music they like.
Of course,
so that adds that personal touch to it. And we've always tried to do that from day one. There's been that personal touch. People, we brought over in 2004 a lot of suppliers, a lot of Kenyan customers, and a lot of them are still with us. As are the staff.
Absolutely. Mate.
We've got low staff turnover. And some of these guys I've known longer than I've known my wife.
Well, mate, I notice that. I mean, every time I come up, it's the same guys, same faces, and it's amazing.
And they're damn bloody good at what they do.
They're really good.
They're damn good at what they do.
Really good.
And, you're talking about design team. There's no better people in your design team than the people that set up the looms and know what the looms are capable of doing. So whether you're talking about patterns, colours, dimensional stability, all aspects prior to weaving that can affect the weaving process, they know it. They've done it. And they're still doing it. And doing a cracking job. So, we're happy with the way things are at the moment.
Right, fantastic. What's the plan then? World domination? Is that on the cards? No. Where are we headed with it, mate?
Very simple answer to that. Just organic growth. Organic growth. You can try and put your foot on that accelerator and you can fall off the cliff. We're quite happy just to see a steady increase. Despite all this sort of geopolitical crap that's going on in the world these days. Focus on the business. Make sure the quality's right. Never compromise on quality for the sake of speed. Be efficient. Develop new products. So we're not for world domination. There's people out there that are doing that already.
There are people after it.
There are people out there doing it already. But we're, as long as we can continue to develop the brand, the name, and that people will associate Wisla Narrow Fabrics with quality of product, quality of service, reliability, consistency, then we'll be happy.
Perfect, mate. Well, I'm excited, Ed. I'm excited. For me, like coming into this from a hobbyist, and you having the graces to basically say, come with me. Let me start teaching you how this works and managing your expectations around what we can and can't do. I'm not going to say I understand the process definitively, mate. I don't. Do you know what I mean? I understand a lot more than I did, but there's still an awful lot more to learn. But seeing how you guys are technically advanced and improving year on year is phenomenal to see. I'm excited. And that leads us on to something that we're going to be doing in the next few weeks, mate. I think we've got the desire to head out with a crew and essentially document some of this process and create a short documentary, and so we can give folks a bit more of an insight into how the sausage is made, for lack of a better term, to understand that the technical elements that need to go into this, to understand that just how big a bloody loom is. Do you know what I mean? We have a bunch of people come to us, mate, can you use 3 custom straps in pink, white and blue, please? Like, it's just not possible, mate, because this loom is the size of a football field in many instances. But yeah, just to give a bit more of an insight, a bit more of an overview, and you've been gracious enough, mate, to jump on board with that and say, let's get it done.
It'd be good, that, because you'll be able to sort of like showcase the process from the yarn. 100%. The yarn coming in on bobbins, on packages that, in terms of polyester, that come in at about 15 kilos in weight. Then you've seen the creels. We've got a 600 end creel, so you can imagine the amount of weight that goes onto there. Phenomenal. Yeah. You fill them up. Yeah. The critical thing about that process is make sure the tensions are correct across the width. Yeah. Because if your tensions are incorrect at any point within the warping or weaving process, or even finishing for that matter, you're compromising the optimal specification you need for that webbing. And you're compensating all the way down the line if your tensions aren't correct. Yeah. So you've seen that, and as I say, there will be a chance of showcasing that, and then the actual weaving process itself. And of course, to the uninitiated, when as you've seen, you put it on what we call tip, which is the slow motion. You actually see what's happening at a rate of 1,800 picks a minute or whatever it is, and picks up, as you know, a weft insertions per minute, and the heat that's generated. It's phenomenal, and you see the speed, and but you understand it once it's slowed down, and that'd be a good part to focus on. And then obviously the finishing, of course.
100%. Yeah.
The other thing that we've done, and I've not mentioned this as yet, is that we have a small strap department, as you're aware, which is supplementary to the rationale behind our business, which is to produce good quality webbing and sell it to fabricators. Yeah. We have a small strap section. Yeah. Now, we don't run with a hare and the hounds on this one. We only take straps on where we know we're not compromising our relationship with one of our fabricator customers. So we've just got a small, you've seen it. Small unit. 4 or 5 sewing machines. Very often they just stood there gathering dust. Other times somebody comes along and says, can you do this sort of strap for me? We realise that, we're buying it en masse from or not necessarily en masse, but en masse from the Far East in this instance, for the one I'm thinking of. And will it be compromising any of our clients that we sell webbing to? If it does, no. We don't touch it. If it's something new or something a bit different.
This is the stuff, the point of sale stuff that you do, isn't it? That type of stuff.
Just some, we've done that, done some branding, have you seen it?
Yes.
Without naming names. And that just helps us add value, but it also gives us the experience of learning slightly more in terms of the technologies involved. So again, that opens up other opportunities and for other markets. So, it'd be remiss of me not to mention the fact that we do have a small strap section.
Absolutely.
And very competent machinists as well.
Yes. So straps is in the wider term of straps.
We don't touch watch straps.
Of course, yeah. And this is the nuance of language, isn't it? When we start talking, certainly in the production and the manufacturing of narrow fabrics. And something you've touched on, mate, throughout this whole conversation, probably unknowingly, it's just how technical this is, and just how much energy and effort goes behind each process and each decision and each tiny little piece is phenomenal. It rolls off your tongue, mate, because you're a professional. It's your profession. Do you know what I mean? But I think for the uninitiated watching this, it's very much like, wow, like how never anticipated that much went into the production of a piece of fabric. So, mate, I'm really grateful that you've come in. I'm really grateful you sat down with us and had this conversation, mate. Where can people find you? Where is Wisla online?
Online?
Yeah.
www.wisla-webbings.co.uk. That's Wisla, Wisla, of course.
Yeah.
You don't have to put the line through the
Of
L.
course, yeah.
Yeah, so, and we produce, of course, out in Droylsden in Manchester.
Yeah.
And, long may that continue.
Right, 100%.
Long may that continue.
Thank you so much, mate. Thank you for
You're
supporting
more than
us.
welcome. I'm glad to be back in Liverpool.
Mate, it's epic. I wish we could get on the pints, mate, but today's probably not the day. Not the day. So, guys, thank you very much, mate. Go check out Eddie. Check out what they're doing. Check out what they're up to. If you're after something that's you've got the capability of being a bit more technical with, or something you need a specific application for, I cannot recommend these guys highly enough. They've worked with us from our inception. They've been phenomenal to work with, and the relationship is strong. It carries on, it grows, mate, I'm so grateful. Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Good luck.
Nice one.
And
until next time.
Yeah, take care.
care.
Thank you.